The words final, finally, and finalize have similar meanings and uses in English. In Java, they have nothing to do with each other. That confuses lots of people. Let's clear up that confusion by walking through these key Java terms one at a time. We can get one of these terms out of the way quickly and easily. Finalize is a method in Java's top-level object class, and you'd override it in your own classes. The idea is that this method gets called whenever an object is garbage collected. Finalize got deprecated a number of years ago for being clunky and unpredictable, meaning that technically it's still in the language, it's still part of the object class, but you don't need to use it, you shouldn't use it, and you don't need to know anything about it. So we can go ahead and forget about finalize and let the garbage collector take it away. That brings us to a keyword that is still around, finally. We need the finally keyword in Java because if we're writing code that could cause exceptions, just using try and catch is not good enough. Let's say we're using a file or some other resource. Here's a quick example. We're opening a file using a buffered reader, and it's our responsibility as the people who wrote this code to make sure that that file always gets closed. Now, exceptions can happen when working with files, so we've wrapped this in a nice try-catch block to stay safe. But that raises a thorny question. Where exactly do we close the file? If you close it at the end of the try block, we may never get to that point because an exception could be thrown before that. So that won't work. Now we could add another close in the catch block, but now we're repeating ourselves, and worse, that file still may not be closed. Think about it. What if you throw a different kind of exception when we're working with the file in the try block than your catch block catches? Or what if while you're handling the exception in the catch block, you throw a different exception? You're never going to get to the end of that catch block, and so that close still doesn't run. So this is quite the quandary, and this is where the finally block swoops in to save the day. You just add a close here, and boom, the file is closed. Or not boom, because this is Java, they won't let you be convenient when you're doing file I/O. You actually need this big glob of boilerplate to take care of something so simple. Now, if you feel that using this much code with this much indentation and this many curly braces just to read in a simple text file is preposterous, yes, I completely agree with you. And the people who make Java did eventually add in a simpler way to do this. So this is the try with resources block. You can see it's way easier. There's not that crazy amount of indentation just to do something simple. And all we do is right next to the word try, inside these parentheses, we open our buffered reader right there. Then the buffered reader automatically gets closed when we leave that try catch block. We don't have to manage it ourselves, it's actually much safer and easier. Now the try with resources doesn't replace every possible use of finally, but it does replace most of them. The exceptions are if you have resources that cannot be automatically closed, or if you just have other stuff that would need to go in that finally block and always run. But most of the time you should definitely be using try with resources. It's simpler, it's better, it's less error prone, rather than finally. That brings us to our final keyword. This gets used in a few different contexts. It means a slightly different thing in the different contexts, so let's look at a few examples of that. So which of these three Java code segments using the final keyword will not compile? Could be all of them, could be none of them, could be one or two of the three. Take your pick, I'll give you the answer in 3, 2, 1. So the answer is B. B does not compile, the other two are perfectly fine. B does not compile because with an int, file just says, I never get to change this. With an int, or a double, or a long, or any other primitive type, make it final, you never get to change it. So this is not allowed, and none of these are allowed either. Now the other two choices that did compile, that may have surprised some of you. So that first choice, it had a final array, and we're just changing one element of that little array, and this is perfectly fine. Now arrays are a reference type, and reference types are going to behave slightly differently with a final. A is just pointing to a different place where that little 10 is at, and so we can change whatever's in that other place. We can add 1 to 10 and make it 11. What we can't do is move the reference to point at something else, so we're not allowed to do something like this. We're kind of moving that reference off. No, that's not allowed. That will not compile. So how does final work with classes in Java? When final is used with a class, it really doesn't have the same meaning or purpose as it does when you use it with a simple variable. So if I have an instance of a final class, I'm allowed to change the data inside that instance as often as I want. Final, when used with a class, does not make all the fields in instances of that class final. Rather, what final is doing when I use it as part of a class declaration is preventing me from extending that class. So final classes can never have children. They're kind of more like eunuch classes. I really feel like Varys on the Game of Thrones show deserved a better ending than he got. I just want to throw that in there. Final methods are also related to inheritance. In this case, if you're extending a class that has a final method, that child class cannot override that final method. So, those are the different situations that you would use final in and what final means in each situation. Here's another video that I made about a Java topic that tends to trip people up. Go ahead and check that out if you're interested, and thanks for watching.